at some point we are going to have to do a whole show about how good this show sounds.
Everybody, welcome to Downballot. We do the show live most Tuesdays, 7:30 p.m. Pacific, right here on Twitch, twitch.tv/Echoplex Media. You can support this project at eplex.store. They have monthly memberships. Well, we have monthly memberships there, as well as fantastic merch. I like the hat I'm wearing, and a lot of you have picked up a lot of merch this month. So hopefully some pictures of that in our Discord will be coming in soon. Speaking of that, you can talk to us, discord.me/Echoplex. You can meet the people. It's not like other political discords where everybody be arguing and shit. It's actually kind of sleepy and focus driven there. It's pretty nice. People, there's little cat picture rooms and stuff, but other than that, like, it stays pretty on point. Anyway, I'm producer Dave. You can find me on Grindr.
And what's up? As always, I am the Councilman. You can find me at THE_Councilman on X. I think it's still there. I haven't checked in the last 5 minutes, but we'll see. You can also find me anytime up in the public comment at San Jose City Council. We had a big meeting on the budget today. They have a budget. It's not exciting. That's all.
All right. Well, it's the second, I think, warm day here of the year here in the Bay Area.
Ball sweat kind of a day.
Yeah, not too bad, but I don't know.
It was up in the nindies.
Yeah,
according to my Apple Watch.
I wonder.
Sorry for going on brand.
I wonder what the temperature in the garage on the south side where my studio used to be is like currently right now. What is the ambient temperature in there?
We can check out ours. Ours definitely has no AC. It's certainly exposed to the elements. So yeah, whatever the temp is in there is probably close. And your garage was actually attached to the house. Ours is totally detached, so it's like its own little furnace.
Oh yeah, I don't know. That place was unfucking bearable. I am happy to be in an actual house with some fucking insulation now.
That's terribly nice. Does
funny,
it have central?
Funny story. I had that portable AC. I fired it up with all the equipment on, and then fucking everything turned off. So
in the current space, not
in the current space.
I was about to ask if you had central AC or something similar in the house. So okay.
No, well, I have one of those little evaporative coolers, and on not humid days today, like today, it works pretty nice actually if it's pointed right at me.
Well, that's great. I mean, at least it's not a sauna, to begin with. It's always what you're starting from, right? Like if it's blazing hot and humid and sweaty, you have to do so many things to bring that down just to a bearable level, right? So if you're starting from a better place, it's easier to get to a comfortable place.
Yeah, it's not bad.
I'm never comfortable.
Plus, just Fremont is generally cooler than San Jose because we're much closer to the Bay.
Just a bit, yeah. And I'm just never good with heat, so that's why I live by the Bay. I would never. They say, oh, if you're over in the Tri Valley, it's in the hundreds. I'm like, yeah, why would anyone live over there? If you can afford to live there, you can afford to live here. So, come over the hill and enjoy the beautiful Bay weather. Or
I don't know, stay there if you want. Fuck it, I don't care.
You can do that too, yeah, and keep the price of housing down here.
Yeah, there's nothing they can do about housing. But let's talk about Caltrain.
Yeah, so Caltrain is electrifying. We all voted to do it. We're all taxing ourselves to do it, or at least you're in Santa Clara County, I guess. You're probably not now that you're a Fremont resident. But so it's happening. They have erected the wires and the cables and all the things, all the infrastructure. It's just going to take a little bit of testing, and that's what happened this last weekend. So if you were trying to get out and get around on Caltrain last weekend, you probably find it pretty hard because they were closed. But they were testing some new trains, so we're going to find out in a quick hit from ABC7 News.
Happening now, you might have to make arrangements if you have plans to ride Caltrain this weekend. Service between San Francisco and San Jose will be shut down so the agency can test its new electric trains. There will be some buses between the San Jose, Diridon, Palo Alto, and Millbrae stations. The buses will not run into San Francisco. The shutdown is part of Caltrain's work to electrify the railroad with trains that are supposed to be faster, cleaner, and more efficient. The new trains are set to roll out in September.
I'm all for faster. I used to love it when I could, on my way home from the city, during the day, if I had business in the city or whatever, I catch that little baby bullet going from San Francisco to San Jose. It was 35 minutes from that ballpark to Diridon.
Ish, yeah. I mean, maybe a little bit longer, depending, but it's a lot faster now. Even the bullet with the electrified trains, because with the diesel trains, the combustion engine trains you were dealing with before, they take just like you'd imagine, a long time to crank up and a long time to crank down, right? So in between stops, these trains are going to be infinitely more efficient because they'll be able, like BART, just come in almost full speed, right, and slow down pretty quickly, and then speed up pretty quickly out of the station. So it's going to make the system more efficient. Like they said, it's going to help more people travel on Caltrain. And Caltrain is a fee recovery system. They're the one system with the ridership to support themselves in the Bay Area. So even more so than BART, that's now balking about potentially going bankrupt, right? Caltrain is not. Caltrain has money. They are hiring. They are growing, and they're good. They're a decent agency that would be worth modeling after. However, they do benefit from the fact that Santa Clara County and San Mateo County at the time did not approve BART. If BART was a complete circuit around the Bay Area, I imagine it would be a pretty effective and efficient and financially prudent organization. We've hamstrung them and created our own little system, and that system is benefiting from the fact that a lot of folks on the peninsula and South Bay and San Francisco can afford to hop on the hour and 40-minute train sometimes.
The other, just mile for mile though, Caltrain is the most expensive to ride in the country of any public transit.
Yeah, I don't. I have no idea. Yes, I take public transit in other cities, but I have no data to compare it to. But so if you say so, I believe it. And it is pretty pricey. I mean, I have a Clipper card, right? So it works there. So I notice, but I don't notice. But I certainly read the fares, right, and how much you're paying for round trip. And I don't take Caltrain much more than for ball games. To be honest with you, I don't make it up to SF for that much. So ball games and basketball games is pretty much my MO, and it's pretty pricey getting from Diridon to that last stop. So what we'll do is get off at we'll drive up to like San Bruno or airport area and hop on Caltrain there, and so we're getting ourselves where we need to go faster. We're paying a little less, but we're also not having to find parking and deal with all that shit in the city.
Yeah, when I lived in Campbell, it was just a quick hop from Winchester Station to Caltrain, and I took it all the time. Just to go to the city, but I noticed like first time I got on it, I was like, why is this twice as much as BART from Fremont to San Francisco?
Right.
And I guess you just gave the answer is that they're not hemorrhaging money. That's why.
Right. And it could, to be honest with you, I don't know how the price of like gas, for example, factors into the price of the system, but it could factor in that, if they're electrified, maybe that's saving them money. And then it's also allowing them to run more trains, which means more passengers, which means potentially lower fares across the board, or at least fares that don't go up right as fast as they have been, because they have more passengers, right, and they're able to make more back end fee recovery. So who knows? Maybe they'll pass that savings along to the customer. I don't think so.
And we'll mean, the fares could just be higher due to like socioeconomic factors, where they believed that because it's going up the peninsula, that people generally could absorb that couple extra bucks for the trip.
It's very true. It's very true. And it just happened to be going to the places where people needed to be going who have a lot of money, right. to work. Especially people who are making a lot of money and suddenly in this country and maybe don't even have a car, don't used to having a car, come from places where they take public transportation as sort of a regular order of business, right? It's quite the diverse population on Caltrain, but it's a lot of tech workers, a lot of recent immigrant tech workers, because that's the way you get around, right? You want to learn a language, hop on Caltrain. Honestly, any given weekday, there are so many languages flying around. It's awesome.
The other cool thing about Caltrain, and I don't know if people know this, if you can fucking behave yourself, you can drink a beer on Caltrain and nobody cares.
Mm-hmm. Oh, for sure. It spills over from, no pun intended, from the ball game traffic and the sports traffic, because they pretty much let you drink on even if they're patrolling it on those. I don't want to call them party trains, but the trains that are getting you there right about an hour before the ball game or half hour before the ball game. Those are the party trains.
They just let you drink. I mean, anyway, like we've had people come by and check our tickets, and we've had we've had beer and they haven't bothered us. I think it's probably one of those things where it's technically prohibited, but they don't enforce it because it's not a problem.
Yeah. It's like I was saying, like sort of an attitude spillover for the guards, right? Like it's just, if they're going to allow it over here, why bother it over here? Right?
The other thing I like about it is a bathroom on the Caltrain.
Yeah, that's always nice. And I'm guessing these new trains, I assume this whole fleet has to get swapped out. So I'm assuming they're going to have an entirely new fleet at some point, or maybe they'll be still running electric and analog or a diesel at the same time. But yeah, the new trains will have new bathrooms and be nice and clean.
I wonder if the new trains have Wi-Fi, because that was the only thing I didn't like, is they had a place to plug in your laptop but no Wi-Fi.
No Wi-Fi, yeah, it's a pain.
But it was always super clean, and I think it just for whatever reason, probably because of the socioeconomic status and reputation of the areas it was serving, it didn't suffer from some of the nasty things that people were saying about BART, right?
Right. So yeah, it's got a good reputation and good history, good track record. The worst thing that ever happens is someone jumps on the track.
The only thing I didn't like about it, and that was just my personal thing, is like for me to get, like if I was going to the city proper, I'd probably have to get off at Millbrae and transfer to BART because I want to go straight to downtown versus going like into the city on Caltrain and then taking either a bus or the Muni Metro to downtown. But whatever.
Well, yeah, Millbrae is pretty much the spot for us. We'll hit Caltrain or BART there and take that into the city. But that way we can just take our car up to Millbrae.
One thing that was good about that very last stop is, I don't know if just past the ballpark, if you keep going, I guess, is it east? toward the bay, that's where all the raves were for a while. And so you could get off of that and sometimes walk to a rave. So that was good. And getting home sometimes was a problem. But if you you think about parking and like possibly getting your car broken into and whatever. And if you got 3 or 4 friends with you, you can split it. You can split an Uber back. Anyway, let's move on to winners and losers, where there are no winners unless you were rooting for someone, and then they probably don't win.
I wasn't rooting for any of these people, so we're good.
All right, what's the first one?
So we've been following this story on Downballot for a little while now. For the past few years, UC Berkeley has been starved for student housing and wanted to build some more of it. And in order to do that, they wanted to do that in the quote-unquote People's Park, a park and open space in Berkeley that they have ownership of, but has a long history of activism and a space for people to congregate, and more recently, of course, for some of our unhoused population to find a home or at least a place to sleep. So there were some upset folks in the community about this. There were some lawsuits trying to stop the development, but we're going to find out what the result of that lawsuit was here and what's going to happen with the space going forward.
And it's been a symbol of the free speech movement in Berkeley for more than half a century. But now UC Berkeley has the green light to transform People's Park into student housing. Today, Berkeley's mayor praised the state Supreme Court ruling that effectively removed the final hurdle in the long-running battle.
Okay, first of all, everybody, that map is a little misleading because it would lead you to believe that the park is far from the campus, but their location of the campus is in the center of the campus. The park is much closer to the edge of campus. You can walk, like the edge of campus is about halfway between actually these two points here, just in case anybody's wondering, like, why the fuck is this student housing so far away from the university? It's not.
Right. I don't understand why the pinpoint for Berkeley is there. Is that like Sather Tower or something, or some sort of landmark? I don't know. Anyway, I just wanted to point Google that out real quick for anybody who might be watching and not understanding. Right, not Bay people.
Future of the park. Da Lin has more on what's next for a neighborhood in desperate need of more options for students.
The university says UC Berkeley can only house roughly 20% of its students. They say that's the lowest amount of student housing of all UC campuses. Like many UC Berkeley students, Cassidy Soner walks quite the distance to attend summer classes.
30 to 35 minute walk from one of my classes that I was just coming from.
Cassidy will be a senior in August. She and other students say housing shortage means paying for higher rents and living farther away from campus.
It's pretty difficult to find housing here, and you're going to have to expect it to be pretty expensive.
The academic rigor here is just insane, and it's so much pressure on so many people that the last thing that I think students should be worrying about is just having to know if they're going to be able to afford rent or like having a stable place to live.
The university hopes they can reduce some of that problem now that the California Supreme Court has ruled they can build housing at People's Park. The university plans to build housing for 1,100 undergrads, permanent supportive housing for more than 100 homeless people, and preserve about 60% of the site as public park space.
We see this as a win-win. We're going to house our students. We're going to house the homeless.
Berkeley Mayor Jesse Edegin believes UC Berkeley will start construction very soon, possibly within weeks.
The shortage of student housing impacts everyone in our city because it constrains our housing market. It makes it more difficult for people to be able to live in Berkeley. It drives up rents.
Opponents of the project say they're not against student housing. They sue the UC Regents because they say there are better housing sites than People's Park. The park is a hub for activism and political protests. It was placed on the National Register of Historic Places in 2022.
A high-rise in the middle of this park destroys that open space, and of course it destroys the historic nature of the park.
Harvey Smith with People's Park Historic District Advocacy Group is one of the plaintiffs that lost the case. His group had argued the university failed to analyze noise impacts from future residents. State lawmakers recently passed a bill that voided that argument.
Our representative basically concocted a sweetheart backroom deal with UC.
After years of litigation and protests, some believe housing will finally be built on People's Park.
Obviously, our options are becoming increasingly limited, but it's not over till it's over.
History should not stop us from progress.
While many students like Cassidy don't want to take sides, they do want more housing.
I definitely think that a lot of people would benefit from having closer housing to campus.
UC Berkeley has not announced the construction timeline yet. They say they're finalizing the schedule and will announce it soon.
The university plans to spend over $400 million on the entire project at People's Park. Officials say the costs have gone up significantly from their initial estimates due to a number of lawsuits and higher construction prices.
So most of they're sort of, when they're like, oh, 96% of it will still be a park. Well, sort of.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be not 96%, was 60%.
Yeah, I'm
like
sorry,
that.
60%.
But regardless, it's fun. It's open. It'll be open space, but it's going to be plazas and concrete, plazas and benches and very pristine and well manicured, sometimes public, quasi private park. That's nowhere near what the park currently is, right? And what it represents, and it won't be the same for the folks who were, who used it for free speech purposes, but also for people who were using it for a home. It's just not going to be the same, and nothing around that. Can't get around that. And yeah, progress is progress, but we also we are condemned to repeat our history if we don't remember it. So I would imagine they're going to have a plaque of some sort. There will be a tasteful glass etching of some sort, maybe to recognize the history of the park, right? Maybe some mosaic mural to speak to the history of all the great things that happened there. But yeah, it won't be the same, period. But 1,100 students will be housed, and 125 formerly homeless people will have a home. So there's that. But it's that's a couple years away. And in the meantime, it's not a pleasant thought for a lot of folks. I feel kind of bad for the folks who are living in the single family homes or the right next to this project that are going to have a 7-story look-like building go up next to their house.
Most of those are students renting a room in those single family homes.
Yeah. That's exactly what I figured. Yeah, no. When I say single family home, it's more just describing the house, not who's living there. But yeah, so the students living next door probably going to be dealing with a lot of construction noise when they're trying to study, and a lot of shit going down over the next few years while this is being built. So that's going to be a little rough for them.
There's plenty of, if they're that close to campus, though, they can just go. I mean, they could just go to the library and study.
Yeah, for sure. Well, for sure, one would hope, right? I've seen their libraries at Berkeley, man. They're packed. Those kids are working. They're working.
Well, it's because, like I said, it's because most of them are living like off campus in a 4-bedroom house, sometimes 2 to a room. And if they got to study, the library is a great place. I remember when me and my boyfriend at the time left student housing, we were like, oh, we'll find something cute near campus. No. We ended up living. Our next thing was like, well, what's the closest BART station we can live next to?
I mean, I lived across town from my my university the last year because it was just so expensive, and my girlfriend found a place that was not expensive.
Yeah,
but it took a massive commute to get there. But I just didn't have a lot of classes senior year, so whatever, fuck it.
I mean, my commute was walk across the street to North Berkeley BART, get on the train, wait 3 minutes.
Bless you.
Get off the train and then walk 5 minutes to class. But
yeah, I made the mistake of going to college in Los Angeles. So public transit is kind of like a fucking alien species to them.
Yeah. Our apartment was super cute, but our upstairs neighbors seemed to have a bowling alley.
Interesting. Were they bowling all night long?
It wasn't sex noises. I don't know what it was.
Oh. Interesting.
Anyway, let's move on. The San Francisco Police Department has a new
device.
This looks great. Fantastic.
Oh, it's going to be fabulous. Yeah. So the San Francisco Police Department is not satisfied with tasers, so they've decided to deploy flying handcuffs. That's a direct quote. So we're going to find out and see. We're going to see a demonstration from local ABC7. One of their reporters is going to demonstrate, and it's going to be really funny. I promise.
A new tool described as flying handcuffs will soon be used by San Francisco police.
Put your hands behind your back. You're going to get wrapped. No, I'm going to the hospital. Wrap.
You saw right there. ABC7 News first demonstrated the Bola wrap last fall. It shoots out a 7.5-foot cord that wraps around a person with 2 anchors that replicates fishing hooks. It's a non-lethal alternative to tasers, guns, or batons. The Chronicle reports that specially trained San Francisco police officers will be equipped with the lasso-like restraint tool in the coming months. The makers of the Bolo wrap say it's used by more than 1,000 law enforcement agencies nationwide,
including Batman, Robin. Sorry.
So I know how to defeat that.
With like scissors?
Yeah. Scissors. Like if
No,
if you happen to trim weed for a living and you have those little weed trimming shears.
Oh, for sure. Like just a little butterfly device. Yeah, I'm outie, bro. Now let me go trim some my sativa.
So if I didn't think that this was going to be abused, I would say this is probably actually a safer alternative to a taser, because this thing is very unlikely to kill you.
It could definitely hook you and like cut you and make you bleed. I think it's hilarious. I don't know. There's so many things that could go wrong with it, I imagine, especially if you're not trained how to use it. And like if it hits the wrong parts of the body, I can imagine that being really bad news. Like anything above the shoulders, right? So we'll see. We'll see how this goes. But I just don't like, forget if you're trying to give them something less lethal, more lethal, whatever. I don't like any of this shit. I'm so sick of cops having weapons and being able to just deploy their cowboy nature on all of us by using them. This actually reminded me of specifically.
Yeah. Hold on, somebody from chat said that was actually a pretty reasonable, a very realistic encounter where the cop was like, "No, the person was like, no, I need medical attention." The cop's like, "Blat."
No, you're a threat. No, I need medical attention. Right? It actually reminded me of Star Wars. There was like Luke gets wrapped up with a rope at some sort, right? Like it gets shot at him. So anyway. So it's in Return of the Jedi. Return of the Jedi.
Yeah, I don't see this. I don't know. So we're not sponsored by Adam and Eve, the bedroom toy company, but I wonder how long it is until we see maybe less one of these available on a place like adamandeve.com,
A less lethal version.
Yeah. Less lethal.
Less. Three lesses on the scale of lesses. I could definitely see something that's very easy. If it's easy to deploy, I could see like some dominatrixes, having a real good time with this shit. Like they have it in their arsenal, right? You can like on their menu, you can be wrapped. I could wrap you and then have my way with you.
All right, up next, I love it when you include a story from my old hometown. This is from Campbell. I think this is the second time either that we've covered a story about this, or it's the second time I've seen this very thing like in the news. So the Pruneyard Shopping Center is like where you go if you live in Campbell and you're too stupid to go to Campbell Avenue, or if you desperately need a parking space and you don't want to if you don't want to deal with the parking garage or walk down the street, you go. It's like a strip mall. It's a big strip mall in Campbell, and
with a fancy artisanal ice cream shop.
Used to have some cool stuff, but it all got priced out. Coffee Society was there. That was a great place to meet somebody for coffee, or even to just sit and study. Hobie's was there for a long time. Hobie's is like a South Bay institution. They got priced out, and like all the cool stuff got priced out of the Pruneyard. And now the movie theater that I'd only been to once, but pretty cool fucking movie theater. They seem to be about to be priced out as well, because the landlords, the people, or the property management of this particular shopping center is just squeezing people. So let's see what's going to happen to the theater.
Okay, a popular South Bay theater is struggling. The Pruneyard Cinema says its future is in jeopardy. It's trying to manage a rent hike and a declining movie industry. Our business and tech reporter Scott Budman broke the story this morning for us on Twitter and has the update tonight.
This one starts in 10 minutes.
You want to hit that one?
Yeah.
Today we found Ryan and Blaze on a date.
I want to go see a good movie.
At the Pruneyard Cinema.
You know what Blaze says?
Don't forget to follow us on social media for beautiful food and inspiration.
It's cute.
Perfect.
And it's comfortable. And yeah, I took my mom here on Mother's Day, and we had a really good time.
Many of us have spent time here. They have movies, food, live shows, and now a big problem trying to make ends meet.
Without getting modest concessions from our landlord, we're struggling and looking at the long-term viability and saying, help us out, get us to a market rate lease like other cinema owners have done throughout the U.S.
The 1-2 punch of the pandemic and a rent increase have left the cinema reeling. Now they're trying to get a rent cut, reaching out to the city of Campbell for help.
It's privately owned and businesses have the ability to decide what to do. I'll just say, as a resident, I would really hope that there's a good faith, just talking and listening on both sides.
Our issues are different than other tenants at the Pruneyard because of the nature of the cinema industry.
A local theater trying to remain profitable in a streaming world, hoping to keep the curtain from coming down on its fans.
It's okay, they have Blaze.
Management says their revenue is now back to about 80% of what it was pre-pandemic. That's not bad for a movie theater, but the recent rent increase means the gap between what they're making and what they have to pay is the problem. They've also started a change.org position to rally support. In Campbell, Scott Budman, NBC, Bay Area News.
So I saw that that they were doing smart things like maybe having a comedy show, although the comedians on the side, anyway, I'm not going to talk no shit. We've met a lot of very unfunny stuff
on this show. You're not going to talk shit on this show. Come on.
No, some of these people
Drop
are
some names.
Okay,
Let's go.
What I'll say something very nice. Phil Johnson in The Roadside Attraction, very funny and very entertaining.
Truth. Okay,
but also, like, a theater is pretty soundproof. They could be doing more, I think, than the comedy shows. I know it's hard to like have bands because of all the seating, but they could have jazz
they could,
or
yeah. I mean, they could do it. They could get creative. They could get creative with it. There's enough rock acts you could even do with seating. I think it'd be fun. I've certainly seen rock bands in theaters with seating. But anyway, yeah, you're right. Like, get a little more creative. Think outside the box and try to provide more opportunities.
Rocky. Oh my God, do Rocky Horror there. Oh my God.
Yeah. Well, it's all about right now. Performing arts is all about and theater and movies are all about at least movies in theaters and cinemas. It's all about finding experiences that you cannot have in your home. And the way that home theaters have developed, right? The people that have the money to go out with their family to see a movie, they have the money to have a home theater that, with a 80-inch fucking HD 40K whatever fucking, screen TV that can give them anything they want at any given time, right? So you really need to create like experiences, right? So more than just going to a movie or going to a comedy show, like something more engrossing that's going to really draw a crowd of people because they can't get that anywhere else, right?
Be neat if they retrofitted one of the rooms for more like dinner in a movie or like dinner theater kind of thing.
They actually did that for the movies, right? They actually have this place actually has a restaurant. Sorry to butt in. They have a restaurant in house where they do that. You can get dinner and have it ordered to your brought to your seat in the movie house, which is really cool. But sorry, I think you're definitely on the right thread. Like just doing more, offering more things like that. It makes it easier and more fun, and you can't get it at home.
And I mean, if they're cash strapped, it's going to be a hard sell for them to retrofit one of the rooms in there. So.
Yeah, for sure.
So,
capital is always the hardest to come by in these kind of businesses. You're always just scrambling to make ends meet in the first place, so you don't really have a lot of time or money to stow away for doing more substantial upgrades and renovations, things like that. You're just trying to keep the doors open, not change the doors, right, to some sort of
Also, from the property owner's point of view, that's a pretty large space. And right now, like just retail more broadly is struggling. So if the movie theater is there and is able to pay market rent or close to market rent on that large space, you'd think that they just want to keep the movie theater there, because who the fuck else is going to rent that big ass space?
Well, precisely, right? This is a very unique position, what you're talking about, from what you see with like other movie houses, like that have been, turned over and then completely demoed, right, and redeveloped. This is a situation where they're not going to redevelop this anytime soon, right? The Prunyard owners are in it, so they're not going to demo just this one spot, right? Maybe they'll try to reconfigure it inside into something more something where they can subdivide it and rent it out to restaurants and other amenities, but and break it down. But it's a really, I've been in there. It's a very deep space. It's a very awkward space. There's a lot of space in there, and I don't know what else you would do with a lot of that space other than have a movie house.
And just just like permitting and everything that you'd need to do. I mean, you're looking to turn that into like 3 like medium-sized spaces for retail or restaurants or who knows what else. You're probably 5 years out by the time you're done with that, right?
Yeah, it's a substantial investment. So I don't know, but again, the land. If you're a landlord in a facility like that, you would imagine they're doing some sort of back of the napkin, at least analysis to see what makes sense and what kind of rents they can charge and what they're getting back in return and what they can do. They probably have, if they're going this, if it's at this point, maybe the landlords have already assessed their options and said, yeah, we can probably do this and that and the other thing and pay this much for it, and why don't we just do that? And either they pay us this full rent or we're going to go ahead and do this thing. And either way, we're going to, we'll make more money. So that's more than likely that's what's happening. But it's good to see that Dan Orloff, who's one of the proprietors there, the guy talking, he's a PR guy. He's a media guy. So he knows how to call media attention to and try to bring some public pressure to the people who make these decisions. Even though they are a private company, they still have private or public pressures, because they want people coming to the Prunyard, right? They want people not going to Campbell Avenue. They want them coming to the Prunyard.
So we're going to move on here. I like your thing. You're like, newsflash, not a lot of kids in Sausalito.
Right. I'm surprised that this story is surprising to people, but
this is amazing too. The title: "Shortage of Children in this California City." Like the QAnon people are like, well, shit. I guess there's no fucking adrenochrome there, is there?
Right. The city with no children.
Let's see what's going on here. The news is probably going to cover this in a very funny way.
Yeah, Sausalito, baby.
There's been a sharp decline in the number of children living in Sausalito. Census data published in the Chronicle found that roughly 9% of Sausalito's population is under the age of 18, and that makes the Marin County city among a handful of California communities where less than 1 in 10 residents is a child. The Census Bureau says the lack of affordable housing in Sausalito is making it increasingly difficult for the parents of young children to live there.
You don't say.
Well, yeah, but that's not a kid place.
Yeah.
So what?
It's not. Like, it really hasn't been.
I thought that they were going to say more, but I was surprised when it ended. But that's not a children place.
No, it's not really. It's not really known for one. That's why it's not a very surprising story, right? But the headline just is what got me, right? It's the city with no children at all. No, there's a lot to be said for places that have a dearth of youth, and whether or not whatever reasons there are for it, it's not necessarily a place that it's kind of like a self-fulfilling prophecy and self-perpetuating, where there's not a lot of youth doing a lot of fun stuff, and therefore the city's not very fun, and it just becomes more of a den for older people who don't want to do fun stuff, right? And that just perpetuates itself over time, right? No young people are going to just suddenly move to Sausalito, right? The only kids that are going to be in Sausalito are going to be the kids of the older people who are living in Sausalito.
Rich kids.
Yeah, rich kids, exactly. And they're going to move out as soon as they can because they want to get as far fuck away from their parents as possible. And they have the largesse to do so. So, I'm not surprised at all that Sausalito has a dearth of kids. I'm sure there's other cities like Atherton we'd find that have the same kind of problem.
Yeah, I was thinking like like last time I went to Pacific Grove, I didn't see a bunch of families either, but that's because it's like a a slightly upper class from Monterey, like mostly like a retirement community next to like Cannery Row. Yeah, the kids don't live. That's not a place with a lot of kids.
Right. So hey, now you know if you don't like kids, and there's plenty of you out there. I know who you are. Go out to Sausalito. That's the place for you. Enjoy.
Yep, no crying babies in a very overpriced restaurant in Sausalito. Let me tell you.
Yeah, leave us and the bad baby alone, and go live in Sausalito. We'll be here in San Ho.
We're gonna move on to get your shit together, and the first one is San Francisco. Something called Vacant to Vibrant. Let's see what the fuck that is.
Yeah, these are related stories. So one about SF, one about SJ.
Cool.
Sorry, go ahead.
At Roslyn Bakery, business over the past year or so has been good. Last year, owner Matthew Casoy says the bakery was chosen to be a part of San Francisco's Vacant to Vibrant program, an initiative that helps pop-up businesses set up permanently in the city with the help of things like free rent and grant money. Matthew credits the program for helping him expand his business from Roslyn's factory in Pacifica to a cafe in the heart of San Francisco.
Being present in San Francisco has provided more exposure for my company's name and ultimately my business.
Matthew tells me he signed a 5-year lease back in January for this cafe here in San Francisco's Embarcadero Center, one of several Vacant to Vibrant businesses who have done so in this area. Those original Vacant to Vibrant businesses are set to be joined by even more. This year, the city has selected 11 additional businesses, including a florist and an art shop, to sponsor starting this month.
Pretty uncool for those people who have to set up in the middle of the bay. Did you see that?
Yeah, I think it's the key. Maybe it's the key. I don't know. That's a good one. Maybe they're like a ferry or a tourist kind of a duck boat business of some sort.
And an art shop to sponsor starting this month. Help that Matthew says will be greatly appreciated given the ever increasing cost of running a small enterprise.
We've seen all of our costs go up. Labor cost is at an all-time high.
But the Vacant to Vibrant program is only one way San Francisco is attempting to help small shops. In addition to reforming the tax system, the San Francisco Chamber of Commerce says the city is actively trying to cut red tape.
The city of San Francisco has really worked hard to try to streamline the permitting process for small businesses that want to open up. The Chamber of Commerce and other groups have been helpful to create a pathway and help people navigate what is a complex system in opening a business.
Helping one of San Francisco's most struggling neighborhoods get back to its pre-pandemic glory while also improving the lives of everyday people.
It's been very helpful. I would not have been able to open up a second retail location for my business if it wasn't for Vacant to Vibrant.
The second group of Vacant to Vibrant businesses will open their doors on June 18th. In San Francisco, Tim Johns, ABC 7 News.
I didn't know the Embarcadero was a struggling neighborhood. That's interesting.
Always fun to learn or see what you can learn on local news, right? Yeah, that's interesting. I don't know if it's so much the area itself. Maybe there's just a lot of vacancies and not so much struggling. Just maybe very clean, but clean vacancies. Who knows?
I mean, I never found anything interesting in the Embarcadero. Like if a family or friends or stuff would come from out of town, we'd get off at Embarcadero and go to like a couple of the piers and stuff. But then, come 5 o'clock, I'd be like, all right, could I now like actually show you San Francisco, please? Would that be, can we get out of here? I fucking hate this part of the city.
Yeah, for reals. Certainly my experience. I haven't spent a whole lot of time milling about in the Embarcadero. So certainly not surprising that there might be some vacancies there.
Yeah, I mean, I wanted to, the sun would go down and I'd be like, all right, we're going to go to the Mission, we're going to go to Castro, we're going to go to the Haight. I'm going to show you the city. And then maybe depending on who it was, we'd end up just past the ballpark on 3rd Street at some sort of we'll call it extra legal nightlife activity.
Whatever do you mean, Producer Dave? I thought you were such an upstanding young boy.
All right, up next we got San Jose. They're seeking to hold business owners accountable to address blight. See, like I have some thoughts, but maybe we'll wait till after the news hit because I have some thoughts on the wording here. I don't like the wording.
All right, in San Jose now, a new push is underway to address blight. Some city leaders believe empty and abandoned buildings are dragging down their communities.
Our Len Romero shows us how they're hoping to fix that problem.
Well, the building behind me could be the poster child for blighted buildings in San Jose. It's been that way for decades. And now, as the number of blighted buildings begins to pile up in San Jose post-COVID, members of the city council are wondering if there's something the city can do to put added pressure on the property owners to clean the buildings up.
The boarded up First Church of Christ Scientist is one. The burned out Lawrence Hotel building is another. And there's
but that one caught on fire. Give them a mulligan.
Empty and graffiti painted storefronts on El Paseo de San Antonio. It's a difficult business environment here, but this flower shop is still somehow surviving.
When the students are not here, it's absolutely deserted.
Layla Notterjaw has owned Rosies and Posies on the same spot for 25 years.
I'm hoping that most of these Paseo businesses will open up and we will have some neighborhoods in here. So we'll feel safer to have, place that people actually want to come to downtown and enjoy.
And that's the idea behind a new push by downtown council member Omar Torres.
I'm walking by an eyesore, unfortunately. This building has been blighted and abandoned for 3 years. And so if we truly want folks to invest in San Jose, they shouldn't be seeing this.
Torres is leading an effort to bring an anti-blight measure before the city that would hold property owners accountable for keeping buildings in unmaintained or even unsafe condition.
We have the fines, but they're not enough. And so that's why, again, we're calling for this study session, because if we need to, one, increase the fines and fine property owners, we need to do that.
Besides the blight, Torres says his office has received complaints about the safety of the building. It's been exposed since a fire in 2021, and the sidewalk has been fenced off in front of it, forcing pedestrians like a Brea Buster to walk around it on the street.
I mean, look at
the bike lane. She okay?
Burned down. It's like that. That happened like what, 2 or 3 years ago?
3 years.
So I don't know. It's like, look at it. It's ugly.
The business owners that own these properties to actually take a pride in their properties and take care of it so it makes the downtown more desirable.
Layla says if property owners did that, it would be better business for everyone.
I don't like the blight. They should just replace that with vacant, honestly.
Yeah, the the language just evolved over time. It used to be that blight was actually a bad word. It was one of those trigger words. It was kind of a semi-racist word even, or a racist trigger. And now it seems to be like the word du jour with everyone, even Councilmember Torres, who's one of the ostensibly more progressive members of the council, using the same kind of terminology. So
but it makes it seem like it's more about how it looks than what it's actually doing. Because these places that aren't maintaining the building and then renting it to new folks, what they're doing is they're driving up commercial and potentially residential rent because their space isn't available and on the market. Right. Correct. No, and it's no surprise that a lot, there's very few property owners, right? And they all know each other. And the city ain't helping. I'm sorry. The city ain't helping. If let's say somebody was like, okay, I have, X number of millions of dollars. I need a little help from the city, but I want to take this burned out building and I'll put in a nightclub. The city would say, no. And, I want to do something fun. No. Right. It's like me now. It's like my whole life now with the bad baby. No, do not put dirt in your mouth. No. Right. But it's so crazy because like what happened, and it ended up getting gentrified out. But in San Francisco, during the time when I don't know if people may or may not know this, before the South of Market district in San Francisco was the club district, there was manufacturing and a lot of commercial, like sort of hybrid commercial and manufacturing spaces there. All those spaces got renovated and turned into fucking nightclubs, and it was cracking. It was cracking for a while. And San Jose is like, nah, we're not going to do that.
Nah, dude, that's not San Jose. That's not our MO. That's not how we roll. We roll up the carpets at 9 p.m.
Like
right?
imagine if there was a way in which the Caravan could get a grant to get into one of these bigger abandoned spaces. Like the Caravan is like a San Jose like tradition, and if they had I wouldn't change too much about the way it looks, but make a little more room, a little nicer stage.
The Caravan Warehouse. It could be like a sort of affiliate annex kind of facility,
right? Or if there was some way in which Art Boutique could move to downtown, right?
Or back to downtown, more accurately,
right? Yeah. But they wouldn't let them.
I mean, probably not through a program like this, right? It would have to be a unique and ideal situation, which they had, which they found. But yeah, government needs to deliberately force the development community to create more spaces like this as we're gentrifying our city. There's no ends around it. You have to force them to do it.
I don't see why the fine wouldn't be, okay, well, here's what your market rate rent on this would be. You have 3 months to show us that you're improving this property and getting it ready to be rented out, or we're going to start fining you market rate rent on this property.
Yeah, it all depends on the law and what they're allowed to fine, right? And they're going to find out pretty quick because the property owners will all sue, just like you'd expect. So it's all about whatever limits they have on them, put upon them by the state or feds, in terms of how much they can actually charge in fines. There's probably a limitation on how much, and I'm sure that the landlords understand, what those limits are, and they're just pushing the envelope as far as they fucking can to do exactly what you're talking about, drive up the rents on everyone else so that they're making a bunch of money, and they don't have to worry about, like with all these vacant spots, they don't have to worry about bad tenants or dealing with any sort of upkeep or management, right? It's just a vacant space for all they care. It's just a space, and they're paying a little property tax on it, but it's negligible compared, because they've owned the property for years and years and years. And it's negligible compared to the rents they're making off of their other properties, right? So yeah, it's a mess. It
just sucks because it just sucks because there's a problem with like entertainment in San Jose that I speak freely about, where there's only a few like places, and the only places that really let anybody who isn't like friends with a select group of people do anything are the Van and Art Boutique. Otherwise, you got to be friends with certain groups of people who've been keeping the door closed for everybody for a long time. And I think new spaces with maybe younger people involved in running them would not only offer new opportunities for like different artists and different people to get involved, maybe even have some a DJ music happening in San Jose sometimes, but also it would end up putting pressure on the old guard to open up a little bit as they see these new businesses coming in and doing better.
Sure, for sure. Absolutely.
But none of this is ever going to happen, because I think if you don't open, I don't even know what you're supposed to, they're like, what you need is a wine bar that closes at 9 and doesn't have any loudspeakers.
Absolutely. But
it's like, but we already have one of those or two of those. That's how many wine bars can the downtown area, support?
So many wine bars.
Anyway, up next, my least favorite venture capitalist ended up on the Downballot docket.
When they're on the local news, we cover it. So, David Sachs, who are you? We're going to find out more from our good friend and old San Jose Metro colleague, Josh Kane, who is now with the San Francisco Standard, which is their spotlight, their nonprofit news outlet. He's going to tell us a little more about who David Sachs is, because apparently some people don't know.
Our coverage of former President Donald Trump's visit to the Bay Area continues now with reporting from our media partners at the San Francisco Standard. And joining us live now is Josh Kane. Josh, we appreciate you as always. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Let's start with the man hosting tonight's fundraiser for Trump, David Sachs. Who is he and how did he make all his money?
David Sachs is a very wealthy tech investor. He was actually part of what was called the PayPal Mafia, which is kind of the original members that launched PayPal. He then went on to start other companies and is now involved in a company called Glue, He owns properties in Jackson Square in San Francisco, and so he has a lot of diverse financial interests, and now one of them is funding Trump's campaign for president.
Yeah, and he's been a fixture in Silicon Valley for a while now. How has Sachs risen in the ranks to become one of the loudest Trump supporters in all of Silicon Valley?
One of the ways to be the loudest supporter of Trump is to just keep talking all the time. And David Sachs is pretty prolific on Twitter, which was purchased by his friend Elon Musk, who also started up at PayPal. He's also got a podcast, Sachs does, called the All In Podcast, which he hosts with other people in tech. And he is consistently sounded off on a lot of different issues, not only in the business space, but also when it comes to foreign affairs and national politics. And he has supported many different candidates over the last year, and now is landing on Trump, who is the likely Republican nominee.
Sachs actually tweeted after Trump's conviction on 34 felony counts last week that Trump has a lot of supporters in Silicon Valley. Many just are afraid to admit it. Have you all found that to be true in your reporting?
It depends what your definition of many is. I think for the majority of people in the Bay Area, Trump is not well liked. However, what we did find in the reporting is that people like Sachs, who are very wealthy and have a very firm views about the way that their wealth is policed by the federal government, as well as issues abroad. There is a growing number of billionaires and wealthy people like Sachs who are warming up to the idea of Trump. And the question is why? Many people have ideas that it is related to increasing their own wealth rather than their stated goals about public policy. But that is, up to each individual. And I think what Trump is doing by this visit is trying to send a signal and, kind of own the libs on their home turf. Whether or not that actually means people in San Francisco and the Bay Area are lining up to support him, I'm a bit dubious.
We only have a few seconds left here, Josh, but I know you all went doorbell ringing up and down the street in Pack Heights, where tonight's fundraiser will be for Trump. What do people tell you? Only about 30 seconds here.
Yeah, we rang 39 doorbells in Billionaires Row, which is the very wealthy Pacific Heights neighborhood in which David Sachs lives, where Trump will be visiting tonight. Reviews were mixed. Some said they thought Trump is full of BS, and then they also said they're going to vote for him. And others were just annoyed that they're going to be disrupted by protests and Secret Service. So a lot of different feelings. Most people a little just perturbed.
Okay, well, Josh Kane, senior reporter over at the SF Standard, we'll have to leave it at that. We appreciate you joining us.
David Sachs is the most annoying motherfucker on Twitter. Like, absolutely the most annoying motherfucker on Twitter.
Really? Even more so than you?
Oh, nah, okay. The most annoying, well-known person on Twitter.
Okay, fair enough. We tried to give you props.
We tried to listen to an episode of the All In podcast during the post game of Intellectual Dollar Tree, and we couldn't. It was awful. It was just like. It was like rich people who think the only thing about them is that they're rich, and that was it.
No good ideas for how to solve things?
No, they were mostly complaining about San Francisco and wokeness, but I think all of the people that were on the podcast live in San Francisco, and I think none of them would ever leave.
Well, that's a shame. I wish they would go. Bye-bye.
All right, what do we got next?
Santa Clara County is one of the next jurisdictions to be considering what we know as ranked choice voting. So if you're not familiar with it, you're going to learn more about it in this hit. But they're exploring it in their elections. San Jose nixed it a couple years ago, but it's making a resurgence at the county level. And we're going to find out more right here from NBC Bay Area.
Well, big changes could be coming to Santa Clara County. In the months ahead, supervisors are considering switching to ranked choice voting. This comes as Congress is looking at a measure called the Voter Choice Act, which would help fund local and state governments who make the switch. Here's NBC's Robert Honda.
The process of voting could change dramatically here at the Santa Clara County Registrar of Voters, but there will be a lot of debate before any decision. Santa Clara County voters are used to filling out ballots for a single candidate, but now officials plan to examine the possibility of switching to ranked choice voting. In essence, voters rank all the candidates in order of preference. Supervisor Otto Lee is proposing the change, saying it's cheaper with one election, there would be an outright winner, and often more people vote in the primary than in a final race between the top contenders.
Sometimes people think it's too difficult to understand, but it really isn't. It's just really number one, number two, number three, who would you like most, and then the second and third. So that way, everybody's vote would be able to be counted.
The proposal has supporters and detractors. Recently, San Jose Spotlight talked to some officials against it, including County Assessor Larry Stone and the local NAACP. San Jose rejected the idea 2 years ago. But ranked voting is the process in San Francisco, where Mayor London Breed ended up in a much closer race when she first ran, and in Oakland, where Mayor Sheng Tao won with a surge of second-choice votes. Longtime Bay Area lawmaker Don Parada lost the previous Oakland mayor race to Jean Quan, despite having more first-place votes.
It really dumbs down the process because you never get a chance to debate anybody one-on-one. You're always trying to, hammer down the least offensive spiel so you can pick up more than one vote.
Now the House of Representatives is reconsidering the Voter Choice Act, which would provide funding to local and state governments to switch to ranked choice voting. South Bay Congressman Ro Khanna is for it.
Sometimes having the person who can build the most consensus is important, and ranked choice voting just makes that easier. So now you can't just talk to the far right or the far left. You've got to talk to everyone.
Santa Clara County plans to take up the issue this summer, while Congressman Khanna says he hopes the Voter Choice Act can be addressed before the November election. Overall, ranked choice voting is picking up momentum. It's now being used in 50 cities and counties in 14 states. In San Jose, Robert Honda, NBC Bay Area News.
So this is going to be fine. It's going to be good, but the messaging around it needs to be really clear. Here's how I would message it. They'd be like, if you're unsure what to do, vote for your favorite. That's it. You know what I'm saying? If you're unsure how this works, just vote for the person that you want to win.
Yeah.
And then explain under that, explain ranked choice voting. So that if somebody reads it and goes, I'm not too sure about this. Well, they learned at the beginning that if they're unsure, they could just vote for whoever they were going to vote for to begin with. But then other people who understand it are like, well, I actually do like both of these candidates. I like this one a little bit more. So I'll go 1 and 2. I think people sometimes think that it's pick up to 4. I think people feel like they have to pick 4,
right?
Where even though it says up to, and just to message to those people, message to everybody that if you're unsure how this works, just vote like you used to and pick 1.
Right. I think that the challenges with the transition in terms of the voter that people are concerned about, in terms of voters not getting it or being overwhelmed with with how to do this new thing or try to do something different or to be something more nuanced than just voting for one. I think there's 2 issues there. One, that I think people who vote and actually cast a ballot are a little more discerning than the next person. And 2, just because they're doing it, right? They're actually doing the things. They figured out how to do it. I think they can figure this out. They get a lot of information about it in a sort of passive way. But the number 2 thing is that there are going to be, if this transition happens, there's going to be campaigns and candidates and causes and organizations where it's in all of their vested interest to make sure that their people, especially their voters, know how this works, right? And what to do. So they're going to be messaging the shit out of it in their own way, right? There may not be enough like objective information, like you just said, like you can just single bullet vote for one person. That's all you have to, if you don't, if you just like that person, you only know that person, you don't want to know anything else about the other people, then fine, just vote for that one person. There's that information will get out there, but I think that it's going to be the campaigns and the candidates driving the messaging, unfortunately or fortunately, about how this works, right, and what's most important. And they have their own agendas, each of them, and they're going to be campaigns will be collaborating with and partnering with other campaigns to curry favor with their supporters to make sure that they're getting enough first, second, third, fourth place votes, right? So, yeah, I think you're going to see campaigns driving a lot more of the messaging. It's going to be a ton of messaging out there about it if it happens. But it still has to happen, and they still have to vote at the registrar level for it to happen. But I do want to point out that Larry Stone, the county assessor, has absolutely no purview over this whatsoever. So he can bitch him all he wants about it, but he has no vote, and he has no say. So
the only other thing that I would say is the only other system I like better actually is a system called approval voting, where instead of having to rank them, you're like, you can vote for up to 3 of these candidates if you like them, and then whoever gets the most votes in that system wins. But now you're not. Now you're not. You don't have to just vote for one. If you're like, I like Mickey Mouse and Scooby Doo, but I don't like Speedy Gonzalez, which would be a little bit racist probably. But I mean, I'd vote only for Speedy Gonzalez.
Yeah, it's the check all boxes that apply basically mentality. Like it makes it easier. I think it and that has been proven to have the same impacts as ranked choice voting. So and they could decide to go that way too. That ranked choice voting is sort of like a catch-all right now for that type of vote, a non-binary vote, right? Let's just call it that.
Now we're gonna get canceled by David Sachs.
I know, right? We're already pushing that anyway. I think as soon as his name's out there, maybe he has some sort of internet troll out there that like can hear people talking about him. But yeah, I think that any kind of non-binary system could result from this, and we'll see what the supervisors have to say about it. It's just very interesting it'll be very interesting to hear elected officials debating, the merits and demerits and different nuances of a system that is going to be used to elect themselves, right? Like they're not all termed out, so some of them would realistically have to deal with this system.
I think this is a place too where the counties and the cities could do a lot of good by putting out YouTube videos, like infographic YouTube videos that explains the system, explains it. Like you run a fake election with cartoon characters.
Well, you could end up with a really disturbing situation actually, because San Jose has nixed it, at least for now, in their city council elections. So I guess you could end up in a situation here where like county elections are on a ranked choice system, but city elections are not, and they're still on the binary system.
That would be on the same ballot. That would confuse the shit. That would confuse the shit out of people on the ballot.
Yeah, that would be fucked. That would certainly be fucked. So I don't know what's going to happen there. I'm sure someone's going to bring it up, and if someone doesn't, I will bring it up in public comment, Producer Dave, and you can broadcast it on Echoplex Media.
Yeah, you bring up a good point. Like if it's for the countywide, then you really then the messaging gets really tough, because you're explaining that for certain things. Because then what do you do if somebody writes 1, 2, and 3 for the mayor, right? Then what do you just pick the one, or do you like throw their vote out? Like
right. They have systems. We've invested in Santa Clara County in ballot processing systems that can do ranked choice voting, because you have to have specific types of ballot counters and ballots. So I'm guessing what would happen is, how you get your ballot now. Everyone gets a ballot in the mail now, right? So you get your ballot, and it's for November. It's usually a couple panels, right? It's like a couple big ass sheets. So you'd probably just have one sheet that's all the county shit that's ranked choice, just that one sheet, and then everything else would have to go on the other sheets, right? Because that one sheet would have to go through a specific machine. That's what I'm guessing. So you may end up having like a bigger paper, more paper in your ballot. It might be thicker. It might be heavier. There might be just more cost associated with her. There definitely will be more cost associated with the election. But yeah, that's process wise. That's how I could see it happening. So you're just going to get a bigger, thicker ballot. And yeah, it would be fucking confusing, because on one card you've got, I get to rank these people, but the other card you have to vote for one.
Yeah, the other thing that I think would be important would be to send out like dummy ballots. Like I know this adds like some expense, but if you send out you put together like a fake election.
Yeah, no, they send out a sample ballot. They send out a ballot that actually it's the same. It's supposed to look like your ballot, and it shows you how to mark it up, right? And that goes out to everyone, a couple weeks before the election. So theoretically, everyone gets that. I know what you're saying, where it's like it's like almost like a trial run or a emergency drill, right? Like
right, maybe where you don't have like the county or the city proper like count the ballots like they normally do, but maybe you could go to like a community center and then like they talk about your ballot, and then, maybe of the 30 or 40 people that come in, they go through and count the ballots and show you how it would work in a ranked choice system. So that Mickey Mouse may get the most first place votes, but Speedy Gonzales be getting all the second place votes, and so Speedy Gonzales actually comes out on top
because he's so cute. Exactly.
Now we have a rigorous debate about fucking Speedy Gonzales and the.
Well, I'm convinced. I'm partly convinced that if we had ranked choice voting in San Jose at the time, things would have gone a lot differently. Maybe producer Dave, the councilman, may not have been around for Downballot and the creation of this beautiful podcast. I'd be.
You were everyone's second choice.
I really was, and I'd be serving at City Hall right now. Although our current council member, she's looking a little ragged. I mean, granted, she's had to deal with bomb threats and all sorts of shit. So I feel for her, but it's looking like, I'm at the end of my ears, and I want out. I want to go home. So maybe it's better that I didn't, for my own health.
All right. So our last story for Downballot Watch is there was a confrontation at the Pamela Price rally. I don't
know what the hell happened here.
This race is heating up, I guess.
Literally, apparently. We're going to see what happened. There was a caught on camera moment.
Price recall rally this morning turned heated and confrontational. A man who claims to be a Price supporter got into a physical altercation with the father of a murder victim. There was a small group of Price supporters to counter the protest rally. Reporter Don Lynn recorded the confrontation and talked to both sides of the Price rally.
It was supposed to be a campaign kickoff for Pamela Price opponents. They're trying to convince voters to recall her in the November election. They were standing on that side in front of the Alameda County Courthouse. The counter protesters, Price supporters, were standing on this side of the street, but things turned ugly very fast.
As they're known to do.
A Price opponent slapping a Price supporter. People stepped in between the two to de-escalate the confrontation. Moments before the confrontation, the Price supporter could be heard taunting parents who lost their children by screaming, "Raise your children." The man who slapped him says he lost 2 family members, his son and a brother, to gun violence in recent years.
I'm really upset right now. I just had a Pamela Price supporter tell me to raise my child. I wish I could. I wish he was here for I can raise him.
The man who was slapped later got into a shouting match with another family that also lost loved ones. The confrontation reflected on the political division within Alameda County.
Another confrontation. One person was backing off while the other people were trying to hold 1 or 2 people back from potentially assaulting them. Let's say what happened. I don't even know whose side, whatever, but that's that's not what happened. Somebody said something they didn't like, and they went after them.
Price opponents recently succeeded in putting the recall on the November ballot. Many of these people lost loved ones to violence, like Sophia, who declined to provide her last name.
We miss and we love her. The pain will never go away. We just learn to live with it.
A gunman shot and killed her 5-year-old daughter, Aliana Crisostomo, on the freeway while they're driving to a birthday party. Sophia says Price refuses to add special circumstance enhancements to the charges for the suspects.
These criminals are going to get out and then hurt another child. You're gambling with our children's life.
Homicide victims' families say Price is making plea deals.
So wait, that one hasn't even been adjudicated yet. A lot of times these enhancements are brought in as part of sentencing.
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
As prison time.
10 years for somebody killing somebody's kid. That's ridiculous. The grief.
You're right. 10 years in prison is too long for anyone. You're right.
And we need to make decisions about things from the head. We need to think clearly about what's right. And we can't allow victims to determine what the sentences are. We need to have the whole society come together, the whole community come together and decide what they want. And we wanted more lenient sentences, which is why we elected voted Pamela Price. We didn't want all the enhancements.
Price won in 2022 with 53% of the votes. She ran on reforming the justice system and prosecuting corrupt cops. Her supporters say she's doing what she promised to do.
I know that Pamela Price is fair, and you have to be fair not only to the victim and their family, but also to the person who's in the crime. I mean, you can't just,
What do you mean by that?
Well, I mean, you can't, enhancements are to, I mean, I'm not an attorney. I don't even know. But I know from being black in America that black people are put in jail much more than other people, Asians, Latinos, everyone, white people.
While the two sides don't agree on politics, they agree they should respect one another. A handshake between some Price opponents and supporters at the end.
The man who was slapped called the police. Oakland police responded and took a report on the incident. It's unclear if anyone will face assault charges. Before the event started, DA Price posted on her personal Facebook page calling the recall organizers sore losers who don't represent the community. Price is planning a fundraiser to help her fight the recall. One of the guests will be ousted former San Francisco District Attorney Chesa Boudin. The district attorney recall will be on the November 5th ballot.
So if I was seeing that right, the only people perpetrating any violence were the pro-recall people. It seemed like that one guy slapped that other guy, and it seemed like the person who they were holding back, or the two people they were holding back, was also on the pro-recall side.
Yeah, and who knows? But who knows what gets said and what's gone on, before and after the cameras and all that shit. And, it's hard to tell what's going on here. All it is, it's just a sad state of affairs regardless. Right. And, we're going to be wasting a whole bunch of fucking money and time and energy and passion and people's emotions. Right. And from my perspective, and I'm, sorry, but, these victims' families, they're, I don't know if I can only assume that they're going for some sort of closure or some sort of, recompense because they feel slighted, and they, like you said, some of these cases haven't even been adjudicated yet. So no one even knows yet what the consequences were or what they will be. So I feel for them because they lost family members, and I don't know what I'd be doing in that situation. But, I'd like to think that I would not be blaming the district attorney for my child not being there. I'd be blaming the person who took my child, and I'd want them to pay, but at the same time, I'd also want I want justice to be done, but I would want justice to be done on all fronts. So I'm just kind of perturbed by the whole situation here, because I think a lot of these victims are being not manipulated by, but used and leveraged by, and maybe that's manipulated, by powers that are really just out to get this particular person, this particular DA, this mentality, this through line between Chesa and all these others, right? And Angela Davis. I love that Angela Davis is going to be at that event, by the way. That's just perfect. As far as a look. But yeah, it seems like there's powers that are trying to push back against this justice reform, right, and the anti-carceral movement, and it's impacted Chesa, it's impacting DA Price, and it's just a waste of all of our time and energy when we have like elections to figure this shit out. And she got 53% of the vote. That's amazing. That's a landslide in a DA race when it's two non-incumbents. So anyway,
yeah,
I hope people see through this shit.
We'll see what happens. I'm just glad that they didn't do a special election. If it's during the general election, I think who's the DA is going to be the most common thing that people think. They're going to go no, right, because they don't even know who the fuck the DA is. So
right. Well, to that point, on the pro Price side, like they got to get better spokespeople. Sorry that the young lady who spoke on behalf of her in that video, who said, I'm not an attorney, but they needed to get her to stop talking right there.
Well, I think, but there was, I think that was the news just interviewing the person on the street. I don't think that was an official representative.
Oh, well, yes, 100%. But they got to get control over that shit too. If there's gonna be people out there waving the "Protect the Wind" sign, her official branded signs, and she's going to be on camera saying that, like they just got to do a better job of organizing themselves and making sure that there's someone there to speak to the press who knows what they're talking about.
Yeah, I don't think the news wants that though. So.
Of course they don't, but this is the struggle, right? But if you're trying to win an election, this is what you do. Like, I'm a media professional. It's what you do. You force the issue. You make it boring. You make the interview as boring as fucking possible so that they can't pull any random shit that you said offhand and use that as the quote, right? And make a story out of it. Sometimes you just don't want a story, and you want to make it as boring as humanly possible for them. So it's a struggle. It's a game. You're playing a game. You're right. They're looking for that choice person on the street, right? And you're trying to give them a person on the street,
right?
That you've coached up with your message.
So
anyway.
I would like to once again say that I'm really glad that like a band isn't trying to set up in my studio as we run a little longer than usual here, and I can just chill out and not worry too much about the fact that I'll start a public comment a few minutes late. We got and another thing. It's an animal interest story, and in this case, I don't know if this was the only thing the fucking CHP was really doing. I'd be like, you know what? Fuck the cops, but the CHP are cool. Unfortunately, this isn't the only thing the CHP are doing, but they did save a rabbit. So let's see what happened to the bunny.
It's a big fucking rabbit.
On the job for this CHP officer, he was called out after construction workers found, of all things, a huge rabbit hopping along Highway 17 in Santa Cruz. The crew found it near the Laurel Curve. Officers even gave her a name, Bugs. They then gave Bugs a cozy ride to the vet to get checked out. Here she is, recovering. Bugs is 28 pounds. They think she's a Flemish giant, a breed of rabbit, and might be somebody's pet. The owner has 4 days to come forward at Santa Cruz County Animal Services before the end of the stray hold period. Bugs does have injuries to her eye and her neck, but is expected to recover.
4 days?
My God. That bunny is bigger than our baby.
Yeah, that 28-pound bunny.
God, that's huge. Not very creative on the naming by the CHP officers. I mean, you can't really expect much out of them, but
pretty whack.
Bugs.
Pretty fucking whack, if you ask me. Actually, the naming.
Totally whack. Whack donuts.
Well, that's the show. Thanks everybody for tuning in, and I believe the councilman going to be reading us out.
I am. Oh, I am. Yes, of course. Reading us out. Here I am. Okay. This is the councilman. And this is producer Dave. And this has been Downballot. We do this every Tuesday night, except when we don't, at 7:30 p.m. Pacific, right here at twitchtv.echoplexmedia. We also have this podcast that you can download on any podcatcher device that you prefer. And we are the 9th coolest podcast about local news and stuff in California, according to some dude. So definitely tune in. Stay tuned for public comment, which is Downballot's red light portion. Woo! And make sure you get masked, get vaxxed, or the other way around. Yeah, get vaxxed, wear a mask. Pants are optional, and we're going to leave you some audible smoke. We hope you see you next week, and peace out.
Time to get the party started. Pick up my phone just to check and see who's calling. Dress up real nice for the ladies at the bar, and I'm driving in my car just to get to where they are. Here at the local scene is where I plant my feet. It's where I smoke my cigarette and I hold my drink. I look at all my friends, they're all blazing green. Here at the front of the stage, waiting for MTV. Where are those guys who's standing next to me with a pipe in his hand, ready to blaze for me? About 5 minutes later, we're all singing Queen. I get the fuck up on stage and rock the scene. Yeah, we do what we want, and what we want is to jam. So sit back and enjoy the band. We do what we want, and what we want is to jam. So sit back and enjoy the band. Enjoy that band. I turn and head back to the bar for a refill, man, because cause you know where we are. We're headed out to the car to smoke another one and another one. Now just when the magic starts kicking in, I hear relapse playing, you know it's time to head in. Alright everybody, now it's time to grab a new drink, spark it if you got it, and then pass it to me. Yeah, we do what we want, and what we want is to jam. So sit back and enjoy the band. We do what we want to do, and what we want is to jam. So sit back and enjoy the band. Enjoy that band. Last up on the bill for the show tonight is Down and Dirty at 5, so we're headed outside. Let's spark up another joint now. Who's got my lighter? Stoner E, of course. Shouldn't you be inside?
I'm all up in this bitch, being who I gotta be. I'm fucked up like the U.S. economy. The truth is that I don't think logically. Stoner E take you on a psychedelic odyssey. Now inside motherfuckers is rocking me, and outside shit we smoke a lot of broccoli. Rocky the roller, yo, that sexy girl be jocking me. Ain't too drunk to fuck, but I'll probably do it sloppily.
We do what we want to do, and what we want is to jam. So sit back and enjoy the band. Enjoy the band, enjoy the band. Yeah. We do what we want to do, and what we want is to jam. So sit back and enjoy the band. Yeah, 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 yeah.